Hey folks, thanks for tuning in. Welcome to episode 4 of the 21st Century Blues podcast. I'm Tim, and today I'm joined by Dr. Cliff Saunders, the Brain Reprogramming Doctor.
Nice to
He's
see you. Nice to
yeah. Uh, Cliff, welcome to the show. Very
Thank
happy
you.
to have you here.
It's great to be here, Tim. I've been thinking a lot about the topics, and it's really exciting. So, yeah, let's jump right in.
Yeah, so just before we do that, for those who don't know what we're going to talk about, I mean, although you
Ah,
probably saw like the title of the episode, so you already know. So Cliff is a neuroplastician, and one of his interests and fields of exploration is Star Trek medicine. And yeah, I think that this is a perfect topic for the show that I'm doing, and I'm excited to learn more about all of this. So, Star Trek medicine from you, Cliff, today.
perfect, perfect. Okay, well, ask me a question.
So, how did you first become interested in this topic? So, Star Trek medicine. Can you give us a little bit of a background?
Yes, yes. Uh, I was born with a horrendous case of eczema.
Mhm.
Just my body was covered right from day one. And it was really distressing. And the best that the doctors could say at the time was, well, it's genetic and Clifford's got it for the rest of his life. There's nothing can be done. And that's okay until you hit puberty, when now what was already bad becomes worse. Obviously, girls didn't want to have anything to do with me. And by the age of 19, you start to seriously consider just giving the whole thing up, just like, yeah, I'll find a way to off myself. Fortunately, a friend of mine could see I was in really bad shape, and he took me down to London where I started yoga. And I started yoga at the age of 19 and a half, and I still practice with my sensei or my guru, my teacher. He's still alive. So that's what got me started. And as I've gone through life, I've just got interested in this whole business of healing. Like, I wonder how I could heal myself. I took engineering um, in the hopes of understanding neural circuits better. And when I finished that, I took my applied psych degree for the same kind of reason. Could I figure out what was happening with my neurons that was driving me crazy? And the answer is yes, I was able to do it. And that's how I got interested in this field that I'm calling Star Trek medicine or third millennium medicine, whatever you like to call it. It's discontinuous from the what we have been used to up to now. That's what's got me. And I guess the other reason that I continue to be passionate about it is it works.
So what exactly is Star Trek medicine? It's probably not just medicine that you could see in like Star Wars, Star Trek shows and films.
So,
So it, I'm guessing it's something quite specific.
yes, it is. And uh, when we see the reason, I picked the idea of Star Trek medicine is because there are a number of points where, say, Captain Kirk gets injured and Bones gets a light pen and cures him with a light pen. And of course, at the time, you think, oh, yeah, wouldn't that? But now we can actually use
Mhm.
photons,
Wow.
usable energy. And there's an example of Star Trek medicine.
Wow.
Here, here we're using photons to provide energy to the mitochondria, which are the little 9-volt batteries inside our cells, allowing them to produce more adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy molecule. Energy then becomes used in cellular regeneration. But wait, there's more. So this is using photons, but you can also use electrons. This is a regular 9-volt battery run signal generating device. And this is very, very useful for people extremely anxious, depressed, miserable. The whole technique is called electrostimulation. This particular setting where I'm using these ear clips, that's using cranial electrostimulation. That's using a varying current across my brain to signal to my brain it's okay to be safe. It's okay to calm myself. They're just two, and I don't mean just two. There are many, many more of these types of devices and styles of thinking coming on the market every week. And they all do something different. They're all part of an accelerated healing sort of narrative. And sometimes you hear it as biohacking. I don't like the term biohacking. But really, that's what you're doing is you're finding a way non-invasively, it's a big deal, non-invasively, signal to the body that you can give it energy or you can calm it. And you know, that's the heart of how this works. Another nice thing about it is you can use it at home. I feel like a used car salesman. You know, you can use it at home, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to go to a clinic. Once you bought the kit, you're done.
How affordable or accessible is this technology, like to the average person?
Okay, that's a very good question. This unit, the cranial electrostimulator.
So sorry, just to cut you in. Those who are tuning in on Spotify or Apple probably are not seeing the video. Cliff is putting on and showing us all of the devices that he's talking about. So the photon simulator that looks like a very, very cool, properly Star Trek helmet. And right now he was just talking about the electron device.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
That's right. So this device costs, depending on the features you choose for it, anywhere from just under $600 to about $650. And it depends on the features that you want. So it's at that price point. This is another photon device. This costs around $500 as well. So you're in the game at $500.
Okay.
This device that I'm wearing though is $1,200, and it comes in two parts. You've got a gut pad that you, surprisingly enough, stick on your gut and heal your microbiome, and so this comes in at about $1,200, and it's wonderful. In fact, this is the device you mentioned offline about Marcy and Ed. This is the device that has essentially healed Marcy of ulcerative colitis in 3 months, and Ed of very nasty, very life-threatening arterial fibrillation, again in 3 months. I just spoke to them yesterday. They're in fine form. They can't believe how well this has worked for them.
Wow. So I mean, it's not like super cheap, but it's definitely affordable. It's not something that would be totally inaccessible to the average individual. And you're saying that it has like a lot of practical benefits that are, I guess, long term. I mean, you probably have to continue using this on a regular basis, but probably, not like for super long amounts of time, not,
exactly.
every day, a few times a day.
No, that's a very good point. I've got people that have been using these devices now for a couple of years, and you hit the money right on the head. They will maintain themselves once or twice a week with a fairly short sort of energy boost. And I'm cool with that. I mean, that makes sense to be able to top up your neurons or top up your mitochondria once or twice a week. I think it's perfect. And yes, and let me say something about the cost. You can, and I've done it, you can, if you want to, solder your own, make your own. Where I was contacted by a young Ghanaian lad about 18 months ago, who he's 26, he's taking his master's, but he's finding it very difficult because he's has an unresolved traumatic brain injury. A tree fell on him when he was 14. And he ended up with a lot of brain fog and a lot of stabbing pain. And it was a credit to it. It is a credit to him that he's managed to get his undergraduate and now he's doing his master's, but now it's coming too difficult. He has no money, but we were able to solder together for him
Mhm.
using 25 LEDs, 630 nanometers, and not a very high power, not a super duper device, but he used it regularly for a year and he's better.
Wow,
You
that's
know?
so cool.
Yeah, so you know, if you're really determined to get into it, but you just can't afford it, get a soldering iron and start. It's easy to do, easy to do.
So why do you think, why would you say that these are not mainstream things? Why isn't everybody using them?
Ah, okay. I think that's just a point in time.
Hmm.
Up until very recently, I and those of us in this kind of business have been, we call it, we're in the land of the not looking. So we have all of the stuff. It's always, this isn't new technology. This technology is almost 100 years old,
Hmm.
but people just don't know to look. They don't know to ask. They have no clue that it's even available. But what I've noticed since Christmas is there's much more people now realizing this is a real option. This isn't, you know, snake oil. This is basic physics applied to living tissue. So I think it's a temporary situation, Tim. And
Hmm.
I'm absolutely convinced that, you know, it's going to be explosive growth. And let me say something about the price point. I am my background is in R&D and manufacturing, and so I built my career on that. And I have to say, you need to pay for the R&D. Someone has to pay for the research because if you don't pay for the research, the whole thing will die out. So I don't mind. I think it's a fair price for the
Hmm.
work that has been done. And often they'll have deals on, you know, 5, 10%, whatever. There are always sales. So if you need to wait for a sale, wait for a sale.
Hmm. And you mentioned the term biohacking earlier, which you
Yeah.
did point out that you didn't like it that much, but it is something that's becoming more and more popular. So if
Yes.
Star
Yes.
Trek medicine is, you know, can be considered biohacking, then I guess it's only a matter of time before it gets adopted by people who are into that as well. And also,
Oh
you
yeah.
did say that this was third millennium medicine, right? So I guess
Yeah.
I guess we still have 1,000 years to go before it gets really mainstream.
I hadn't put it that way around, but yeah. The reason I don't like the word biohacking is just the hacking part of the word. You know,
Mhm.
I don't want to hack my body. Um, but yeah, okay, if that's the term, that's the term. However it morphs, the point is these types of tools and techniques will diffuse. People will adopt them because they're safe. They use them at home. You know, lot of people are just surprised had never heard of it.
Mhm. Well, I hope now more people will hear about it.
Yeah.
Maybe one other thing that I wanted to just briefly mention,
Please.
that's maybe not directly related to Star Trek medicine, but it is related to, like, you know, how we can heal ourselves more. And you mentioned in the beginning that you started doing yoga at 19 and that really helped.
Yes.
Are you still
Yes.
doing that? And
Yeah.
or are you using any other techniques such as grounding and stuff like that to calm yourself and to ease yourself?
Well, yes, I still do yoga. And let me just say something about yoga. Sometimes it's a struggle. Sometimes you realize you're struggling with something inside that you're not dealing with well. And and so it's not all sweetness and light. Sometimes it's like, okay, I've got to roll my sleeves up. Now this is important. Yeah, I still practice yoga.
Mhm.
Um, what you're talking about with grounding is an incredibly important idea. It's just got forgotten.
Mhm.
There was no, you know, when we in our history before we started wearing rubber shoes, we were always electrically connected to the earth. That's a big deal because if you wear rubber shoes, over time, your voltage now changes about 350 millivolts from the Earth's potential. That might not sound like a lot, but can affect things like protein folding.
Hmm.
So, and protein folding begins to your energy and your body itself becomes weaker because you're not taking advantage of the electrons that are free. So, ladies and gentlemen, get out in the mud. You'll feel like a kid. And the other thing, doesn't cost anything. Right? It's
Hmm.
very effective and it's nice. It's fun. You're literally connected with the universe. And the other one is watch the sunrise and watch the sunset.
Hmm.
When you watch the sunrise, you will be seeing the light going through its spectrum as the day begins. And then the reverse happens the other end. So this change in the spectrum of light turns out to be really important at reminding us how many hours there are in a day when the sun is rising and setting. Your whole circadian rhythm can now be locked onto the sun. And if you miss a few days, it doesn't matter. But what you're doing
Hmm.
is you're synchronizing your melatonin release to when you need it. So when you sleep soundly. And then when it's time to wake up, you wake up fully refreshed.
Hmm.
So that doesn't cost anything, nothing.
That was very well said. And you know what I was thinking, especially about the grounding. It's like when you're a kid, you just run around barefoot in the mud. And I
Yeah,
guess the older you get, the more ingrained in society you become, the more you see walking barefoot in the forest as something not adequate for society, something to be frowned upon. And I'm just thinking, obviously, when you're a kid, you're much more connected to nature, to everything.
yeah.
And I'm just wondering if there's some kind of important connection here that we might be missing.
Well, it's that's I think you put your finger on a very important point. Um, and it's really it's social conditioning.
Hmm.
But it's social conditioning where you allow the influence of other people to dictate to you what you can and can't do. So now you're relying on the approval of OP of other people
Hmm.
to function, which means you're never really free. And my recommendation is it's easy for me to say just stop, move in a direction where you can get freer,
Hmm.
move in a direction. Uh, Surround yourself with people who are crazy like you are, that realize the importance of all of these things, and you'll make friends. You'll soon get rid of the miserable people.
That was such good advice, man. And actually, a few years ago, I don't know if it was your post, but somebody posted something about the importance of grounding yourself by walking barefoot. And I
I
was
think it
like,
wasn't. Yeah,
I've tried so many things. Why not try this? I live close enough to nature that I can just, to walk the street in my flip-flops, and as soon as I get to like the nature path, I can take them off and just carry them in my hand. And man, I have to tell you, like that was, I think the first time I did it was in June of 2022. And at the end of June of 2022, my life started completely changing, like completely 180 twist. And I mean, I'm
wonderful.
not saying that there's a direct correlation, but there's definitely, I mean, that there's a direct causation, but
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
definitely a correlation.
yeah, yeah. And the way I look at that is in geology, where they want to find, say, a gold mine, and they're not sure where it is, they'll use a method called weights of evidence, and they'll put a certain percentage on, say, what does the water telling them, what's gravity telling them, what's the electrical telling them, and they build up a weights of evidence. Well, you're right. Grounding is one of a number of things you can do. And I think once you start grounding and start adding other techniques, your mind gets involved. Your mind begins
Mhm.
to, oh, this is the new me, this is the new us. And I suppose this again is on topic, is more people are beginning to realize it is not that difficult to learn to say hello to their brains. We want the placebo effect. We don't know what the placebo effect is, but it seems to be mediated through our brain. Well, then, our brain is not a theory, it's here. And by using some simple techniques like an eye roll technique or journaling, whatever it might be, and then paying attention to when you fall asleep thinking about these things, you can actually set up a very interesting and informative conversation with your brain. It's funny to think that, but we can.
Wasn't it? I think it was Dr. Bruce Lipton who said a lot about these. Basically your cells, how optimally your cells operate depends on what kind of environment they're in, and you
That's
and your
yeah,
thoughts can directly influence that environment and make it either
absolutely,
negative or positive. So just
absolutely.
something as simple as telling yourself that you are healthy before you fall asleep makes it
Yes,
easier for your immune system to be like, oh yeah, we're actually healthy. We should work optimally. We should optimize
yeah,
how
yeah,
we do things.
yeah,
And then you
yeah,
can get more in depth and you can be like, okay, I need my immune system to focus on the parts of my body that need it the most, and I need everything to function optimally so that all the parts of my body that need specific things get exactly the things that they need to heal optimally and thoroughly and properly.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I hope people listen to what you just said. I hope they replay what you've just said, because there's you put your finger on a lot of it. Then all of your systems are pointing in the right direction. And if you don't know really what we're talking about, the fact that your brain now will be open to, oh, that's one of those photon devices I've heard about. Oh, that's one of those electrical
Mhm.
stimulation devices that I've heard about, whatever it might be, right? You just need to get curious about it, and the world will educate you for sure.
Cliff, this has been such an awesome conversation. Thank you
I
so,
really,
so, so much. If anyone listening would maybe like to learn more about you, learn more from you, maybe connect with you, what are some good ways to do all that?
well, if you're on LinkedIn, come and find me on LinkedIn. I'm Cliff Saunders. But if check out my website, I'm the Brain Reprogramming Doctor. So the website's www.thebrainreprogrammingdoctor.com. Drop me a line, or just look at all of the technologies and all of the methods we've talked about today, plus a lot more, Tim. And thank you so much. What you're doing is important. People need to know. Oh no, people need to know there's lots more options out there than you've been told about, and you're making it happen. Thank you.
Well, I guess we're both making it happen, Cliff. Thank you. And
You
yeah,
bet.
thank you again for joining us. It was very, very great to speak with you again after a few years and to have you as one of the first guests on the show.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Tim.
And well, to everyone listening, that's all for this episode, folks. Have a great day, and we'll see you again next time.